Welcome to the Director's Cut with East Lansing Public Library's Director, Kristen Shelley.
Welcome to the Director's Cut podcast. I am Kristen Shelley, Director of the East Lansing Public Library. The library enriches, connects, and transforms lives through knowledge and innovation. In this new podcast, we will have conversations with various leaders who have made a difference in their communities. My guest today is award-winning photojournalist and author Linda Solomon. Linda recently released The Queen Next Door, Aretha Franklin, An Intimate Portrait, a book full of firsts as she was invited not only to capture historical events in Aretha's music career, but to join in the Franklin family's most intimate and cherished moments. What developed over the years of photographing birthday and Christmas parties in Aretha's home, annual celebrity galas, private backstage moments during national award ceremonies, photo shoots, and the iconic pink Cadillac was a friendship between two women who grew to enjoy and respect one another. Linda, welcome to the Director's Cut.
Thank you.
Linda, thank you for publishing this beautiful book of photographs of Aretha Franklin. It allows most of us to get a much closer look at the personal and private moments of Ms. Franklin and her family and friends, from the foreword by Burt Bacharach, the great photos in between, and the afterword by Sabrina Owens, Aretha's niece. It is an beautiful book.
Thank you so much. And I felt Aretha would want the book published in Detroit, and it was wonderful to work with the press, and they had some wonderful advice for me, too, as far as the selection of photographs, and they encouraged me to share my own feelings, and I'm very grateful.
Yeah, I love that it was published in Detroit, and pays,
yes, me too.
Pays homage to Aretha and her family, but also to the great city of Detroit. Did you always know that that's where you would want to publish it?
Yes, and Aretha gave her heart and soul to Detroit. Mm-hmm. So it's so important to show our love forever to the Queen, and she will always be our Queen.
No doubt in that. So share with us what it was like the first time you met the Queen of Soul and when you took that first photo of her.
It was in 1983, and she had moved back to Detroit to care for her father, who tragically was shot in an attempted robbery, and remained in a coma. And when Aretha came back home, I had heard that she was going to be appearing on a local talk show in Detroit, a morning talk show. And I arranged with the producer to come down to the studio and meet her, and I waited outside as she arrived in her limousine, and I introduced myself, and I thanked her for coming home, and I expressed my love for her, and certainly best wishes for her father, and I asked her if I could take one photograph, and she said yes. And then as we walked in the studio, as most photojournalists always do, I took two more photographs. Mm-hmm. And she said, of course. And I was able to photograph her at the piano, which was magical, in a very small setting, a studio audience. And after I published my story about her, I received an invitation to attend an event at Mayor Coleman Young. Mm-hmm. He was hosting an event at the Venusian residence in honor of the Franklin family, and I attended that event, and I was able to meet Aretha's siblings, her brother, who was her manager, Reverend Cecil Franklin, who invited me to many, many events after that first meeting. And then I met her son, and I met her sisters, and I just felt at that time they were so warm and so kind that it made me feel very, very special. I was a very young woman just starting my own career. Mm-hmm. And Aretha really wanted to help me. She truly did, and she gave me unprecedented access as a young journalist, and I am forever grateful.
That's really amazing. She was larger than life to most of us, and yet so true to her family and her church and to civil rights and to women's rights and Detroit and to her friends. And to mentor people, to take the time to mentor a young photojournalist or to invite you in to her family. I mean, it gives me chills to think about.
You're right. And when I think about it, can you imagine? I mean, international treasure, is inviting me to photograph her birthday parties or Christmas parties with only about 30 or 40 guests. And I would just pinch myself thinking my gosh, I received this invitation that she would personally address. I mean, she would take the time to plan her beautiful Christmas and birthday parties, and I've included the invitations that she personally addressed in the book because I wanted the book to resemble a photographic album that Aretha would have on her own coffee table that would include mementos like invitations and menus. So the book includes those things. And then, of course, the photos with her family. And first and foremost, of course, would be her family. I mean, she would take her family with her everywhere, and that's very unusual. Most celebrities, you only see them with their families. It's on the red carpet. But with Aretha, she would include her family in everything she did, and they experienced all the fun and the glamour and the excitement just as she experienced it. And it was a beautiful thing to observe and certainly document as a journalist.
I'm sure. And to be a part of. I mean, yeah.
Yes.
Do you still pinch yourself?
And I never intruded. I would only take a few photographs, and she never asked for photo approval. So often today with digital cameras, people shoot thousands of photographs, and but I never did anything like that. I was shooting film where you really don't know what you're capturing. You can't see it. But yes, I could, have a sense that I had what I needed. I never intruded, and this is what I think endured her to my work, and she felt that, I was not there to be in her face, let's say, with my camera. I was there to just document the moment and never to be intrusive.
Did she want to see the photos? Did you always share the photos with her?
She would see them when they would be published, of course, and then she would continue to invite me, to everything. So I was able to capture some of her most iconic concerts. The concert she did with the Detroit Symphony, which was her first performance with the Detroit Symphony, where she asked me to be right on stage with her during the rehearsal. So the photographs in rehearsal are very intimate with the conductor and the symphony. Then I was able to photograph her with the Rolling Stones when she did her music video, with James Brown when she did the one and only concert with the Godfather of Soul. There are other concerts featured in the book. I wanted the book to concentrate on the period in her life where she had all those fabulous hits, Who's Zooming Who and Freeway, Jumping Jack Flash. And these were years where she did not travel. She did everything in Detroit. She brought the music industry back after Motown had left because she did all of her television specials, music videos, concerts here in Detroit. And she was hiring musicians and producers, directors, caterers, florists. And she was so actively involved in giving back to Detroit. There are photos of her even answering the telephone during an Easter Seal telethon.
Right, I saw that.
Imagine picking up the phone and making a pledge and hearing Aretha Franklin's voice on the other end of the line.
Yeah, I know. That would be amazing, too. I love the photo on the cover of the book of Aretha.
Thank you very
She
much.
looks so regal, and I know it was at a masquerade ball or party that she threw, but it's just such a great photo. The side profile, and she's dressed as Queen Nefertiti, and
you're so kind. And it matches the title because the title of the book is The Queen Next Door. And Aretha's famous quote is, and I will quote her, "I am the lady next door when I'm not on stage." So in the photo, she was Queen Nefertiti, the one that you so beautifully complimented. And that was at her masquerade ball, and it was just taken in the hallway at her home, and I asked her to look out the window. Many of the photos are very candid. I didn't want to have her pose or do anything that looks stilted or unnatural. There's nothing that, that looks like it's been enhanced. I mean, these are all the photos that capture the natural woman, the title of the song, and the photographs, I think, capture her having a lot of fun. You can see that she even had her own camera in many of the photographs. She was capturing what she was experiencing herself.
How many photos do you have, and how did you choose the photos that you put into the book?
I don't know exactly how many I submitted, maybe 250, and then I think they selected 150 for the book. I'm not sure. But it really wasn't up to me. I have a fabulous editor at Wayne State University Press, Annie Mountain, who did the selection. And she wanted to just kind of capture the feel of how I worked with Aretha, where we would use just a few photographs in each section and then move on to another section, sort of the way I, worked with Aretha, where, I would just capture the highlights of each event, and that's what she preferred, and that's what I think the book reveals, just the highlights, and each photograph from each section, there are photos of Aretha with, an iconic pink Cadillac, and photos of Aretha, with her siblings, and then one of the most fun, and for me, was when Aretha surprised her son and invited the entire Michigan State University cheerleading squad to their home when he graduated from college, and they were doing cheers, and she was having fun and decorated her house in all green and white streamers, pom-poms. She is the proud mom, and it was so much fun to see the cheerleaders at her home with her.
Well, and those pictures just pop off the page because you can see the joy in everyone, the cheerleaders, her son, Aretha. I mean, it was just a fun party. And actually, all the party pictures, you want to be there. You want to, experience it. So,
thank you.
Oh yeah, it's just really a lovely book, and I love how you mixed color photos with the black and white photos throughout. Because
really, that's the way I shot it. I would each experience. Well, I would take like a roll of color film and then kind of switch over to black and white. So, when I think back, it's funny because, today so often we don't print our photos, we just share them. And I realized when I did this book the importance of printing and putting photos in albums for your listeners. That's so important because I will tell you that some of my photographs, as you know, were taken in the early 80s, and if I didn't have those photographs, I wouldn't have even remembered some of the detail of the photographs. So it's very important to not just share, but to print your work, print those moments, print those special occasions you capture with your cell phone and with your cameras, and save them, because you may not remember all the details decades later. And if you have those physical photographs right there in front of you to look through in an album, it will bring back all the wonderful experiences that we've all had in our lives.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly right, because now with most of us taking our pictures on our cell phones or iPads or whatever we have, we don't necessarily print them out.
No, and it's very important to do that, because if we don't, as I mentioned, our beautiful memories will not have clarity that one will have when you can look back at the photograph and every detail is right there for you to remember again.
Well, and I like your writing interspersed throughout the book and how you share about the friendship and the mutual respect that Queen Next Door had for you and you had for her. It's really more than a book of pictures. It's a journal of your friendship and her life and her family and your time together and what you observed.
Oh, thank you so much. And wow, that means so much to me. I really appreciate it. I mean, what you've just said, and I think it means the most. And that comment and another comment I had too, and I think you probably would understand this. A journalist said to me, a book like this could never happen again with a another celebrity. And I said, what do you mean? She said, well, all the celebrities now have already posted all the moments of their lives on Instagram. Mm-hmm. So a book like this, we could never have it. It's already been seen. You know, everything's been out there, and on Facebook, and then on Instagram, and the time period that you captured with Aretha. No one had a cell phone. She wasn't inviting, photographers. It was just you and your camera documenting these events that no one else, had access to capture. And I said, that's so interesting. I never thought of it like that. But we all know that celebrities are posting everything about their lives, and sometimes, in some occasions, it's rather boring.
Well, I'm going to turn a little bit and talk about your project and your organization, Pictures of Hope.
Thank you.
So the 2019 One Book, One Community book for East Lansing and the Michigan State University was Evicted by Matthew Desmond, which, simply put, focuses on poverty and housing insecurity in Milwaukee. And your organization, Pictures of Hope, provides cameras to children in homeless shelters to tell their stories. Tell us more about that.
Well, in fact, I've worked with a shelter in Lansing, and I was very honored that some very noted community leaders in the Lansing area volunteered to mentor, including Michigan Supreme Court Justice Stephen Markman was one of our mentors. Mm-hmm. The mentors take the kids out to capture their heartfelt hopes and dreams. We surprise the kids with cameras. They've written a list of what they're hoping for in life. And then we create cards where 100% of the proceeds benefit the shelters where the children live. And as you mentioned, statistics, there are 2.5 million children in the United States who are homeless. Mm-hmm. And the average age of someone homeless in America is 7 years old. And through photography, we've created awareness for children, and we've created awareness where scholarships have been granted, because the most special dream, and the dream that I see the most, is the dream for a scholarship. And we've had such good fortune with a college president who happened to see a story on Pictures of Hope on NBC Nightly News and emailed me and said, I want to help these kids who dream to go to college but cannot afford it. And so we've granted 5 full tuition scholarships to Blackburn College in Illinois. And now the president of Blackburn is now at Otterbein University in Ohio. Mm-hmm. And we are now going to be able to grant the full tuition scholarship, completely paid for by the university, to first-generation students who are homeless or underprivileged who dream to go to college, and they now can.
That is so wonderful. And thank you so much for doing this important work for our communities.
And yeah. I cannot imagine not doing it. I've been able to bring the program to 52 cities, and I am devoted to creating awareness for the hopes and dreams of children who deserve hope. And their mothers are working, so it's very important to dispel misconceptions about the homeless, mm-hmm. and that's what we do in these powerful photographs. These children are not photographing iPads. They're photographing true life lessons for all of us to learn from, because when you see a photo and that says, with the words and then in an image, captures, my hope is for people to not think I'm a nobody.
Right.
And that was a photograph taken by a 10-year-old, and he had his friend put her hands together to form a heart, and he captured her fingers in the shape of a heart, and those were his words. And I will tell you, it was heartbreaking when I walked by his desk at 10 years old to see and read those words from a 10-year-old in our country.
Of course. And of course, he's somebody. They're all somebodies.
Yes, and we are building their self-esteem because we are showing these children you are important. Your dreams are important because the mothers are working, they're trying to make ends meet. They don't even have the time to think about dreams. They're trying to survive. And today, these children, the pressure on them, and they're so young and they want to be able to help. One of the other common dreams that I see written by children in shelters, my dream is to help my mother. They all want to be able to help. But how can they at 7 and 8 years old? But our program is a program where through mentoring, we show these children, yes, your dream is right here in front of you. You've captured it with your camera. Now it's time to achieve it.
Linda, thank you so much for both The Queen Next Door, the book of photography of Aretha Franklin, and for your work with Pictures of Hope. Thank you for everything you're doing. It was such a pleasure to talk with you.
Thank you, and I enjoy talking to you, and hopefully I can come back to Lansing and help more children.
The Queen Next Door official book release is scheduled for October 9, but you can meet up with Linda at her national book launch event hosted at the Detroit Institute of Arts on October 27.
You have been listening to The Director's Cut, an East Lansing Public Library podcast.